Now, normally I wouldn't record a video like this, but considering the size, scale, and severity of this incident, I thought being faster, being more rapid in a rapid response would probably be a good thing, because there has been a supply chain compromise of the Axios library, basically ubiquitous. Like just about every JavaScript running application or solution uses this package in this library in the npm package and repository. And the thing is, we have seen and confirmed hosts have been compromised. This is literally a rough draft of the blog post and article that I'm hoping, presumably Huntress, my day job, will put out. And I did want to note, look, I crapped this together with a little bit of AI. Wanted to be totally upfront, transparent with that. Gave it enough context from what I dug into during our live stream to investigate this breaking in the moment when the news was first hitting the streets. But we've observed active exploitation of a supply chain compromise targeting the Axios npm package. It has over 100 million weekly downloads. Now, the attack delivers a cross-platform like Windows-supported, Linux-supported, and Mac-supported remote access Trojan or command and control capability to access the downstream victims. And they do this with a malicious dependency injected into the backdoored Axios release, versions 1.14.1 or 0.30.4 are the malicious packages. Ultimately, these funnel down to that phantom dependency of plain-crypto-js version 4.2.1. That plain-crypto-js, presumably trying to typo squat off of legitimate crypto-js, did not exist previously. And it is never really genuinely used by Axios code. It literally was just to execute a, you guessed it, post-install script that runs the malware. For folks that aren't familiar with what Axios is, it is a promise-based HTTP client. But I was alluding to the fact that it is just about everywhere. It's a transitive dependency for countless packages, and of course, CI/CD, continuous integration, or whatever that I letter is supposed to be, continuous deployment, continuous delivery pipelines, developer workstations, and production applications worldwide. Any environment that ran npm install or actually updated and resolved to the malicious Axios version during the time that it was alive and published on the npm registry and repository, about 3 hours of exposure, those hosts are compromised. While the packages have now been removed from npm, okay, we've stopped the bleeding, treat for shock, there are still hundreds of hosts, if not thousands, as I'm sure we'll see more come out of the woodwork for further post-exploitation in the coming days, but the damage is done. What happened was that an attacker gained access to one of the maintainers or contributors' access to their npm account and the open source Axios library, switched up their email address, bypassed normal GitHub Actions control with a long-lived access token and a little bit of a breadcrumb in there. But the maintainer, Jason, is saying, even in GitHub issues, this is a wild saga. If you haven't looked through this, you absolutely should. Kind of crazy. But there's a segment here as folks are discussing this nice meme. The remaining items, you can see Jason does chime in, and he says, oh, hey, I'm sorry, it's 5 a.m. in my country, I'm looking into this. Everyone's like, you got this, we bring to arms. I'm trying to get support to understand how this even happened. I have two-factor authentication, multi-factor on basically everything I interact with. So far, as this is still breaking news, I don't think we really know exactly how the account was compromised and how bad actors got into Jason's capability and access to the library, but I'm waiting for that root cause analysis. Interesting thing though, that plain-crypto package was prepared a bit before it fired, adding it into upstream Axios, right? Little bit of a timeline here where you can see when the actual malicious package that is called out to and in part of Axios now, and the delta in the minutes, the seconds, the moments here are kind of wild because internally, right, when we're protecting partners, organizations, and companies, look, we see, okay, that hit a minute and a half after it's published, and one macOS host is already hosed. Sometime after, we're catching wind for Windows infections. But the fact that this trickles down, and with it only being live on NPM for sure, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, it's going to have severe size and scale because how many packages, applications, runtimes, CI/CD pipelines genuinely rely on Axios. And it hits in a minute and a half. Wild attack. The gimmick here is that the setup.js, or the syntax and code that's actually fired as the post install hook, has a little bit of, cutesy, reverse base 64, XOR, some decoding and decrypting that it might do to hide away the rest of the syntax and what it's going to actually do, depending on the platform that it's in. Now, in case you're curious, we have the payload, and I've staged that in a GitHub gist. You can see that here, and if this gets published, it'll be embedded within the blog post. But in case you want to see what it looks like, this is the smoking gun. That syntax ends up staging either the Windows remote access Trojan or the Linux or Mac one, and the process execution chain is a little bit interesting here because that setup.js, once it fires, is going to write a Visual Basic script tucked away, hidden window, actually put PowerShell.exe to what folks might consider WT.exe as the Windows terminal, natural, now modern Windows 11, if just so the process chain doesn't look as weird for an EDR or SIM or SIEM solution. We'll still catch the fact, hey, that's running out of an irregular directory, and then it's doing weird cmd.exe commands to curl down and actually post data with another strange looking URL in there that's another little clever trick to just look like natural data, but actually hitting a command and control interface. sfrclack.com on port 8000 with a little campaign ID or interesting sort of key here ends up staging the PowerShell script to do more damage, and then it covers its tracks after it executes and fires the next stage payload. You can see the process picture here. The rat on Windows does end up setting persistence in the Windows registry with the usual, hey, kind of classic cookie cutter, classic auto run startup location in HKCU or the current user. So local privileges to add that. And then it ends up looking through your file system to uncover your documents, desktop OneDrive, roaming app data, and file system drive roots. And then it ships that off to the command and control C2 and starts to loop to keep operating as the maintain access. It has some handlers, so remotely, via the command and control to drive the now victim computer that the hacker has compromised, they could kill the engine. They could inject and run more code with some .NET assemblies and maybe getting some stuff in memory. Or they could run even more PowerShell scripts or just explore more directories and dig into files. Again, I do have the Windows payload gist if you're interested. That is pure PowerShell. The whole payload is available on that GitHub gist, and you can see everything that they did. But if you wanted to scroll through it together with me, you can catch that as part of the live stream bot or hang out when we're live streaming together. It's a lot of fun. And I don't want to fall down the rabbit hole on all of the technical details, even in the Mac OS or Linux direction. The Linux one uses a Python-based rat, but it's basically going to end up doing the almost exact same thing the Windows does syntactically, right? Just in the Python flavor rather than PowerShell, but it does not actually add persistence. There was no hooking into a bash RC or setting up some cron job or anything weird. It just kind of runs. So if you were to end up stopping that process, if you could track it down, if you could find those indicators of compromise, if you could even restart the thing, but you got to keep in mind that is intentionally likely built to be inside of a CI/CD pipeline where the sensitive secrets are kind of all that they're after. They're not expecting something to be shut down or rebooted or even monitored because it's probably part of some scaffolding, part of a production application that you never turn off in the first place. But I don't know if you caught it, but it stuck out to me. I thought it was, maybe an Easter egg, maybe just something silly, but the campaign ID or the path they keep using, the numbers 6202033. If you end up reversing that, the numbers 330 and 2026 point to March 30th, 2026, exactly when the supply chain fired off. I thought that was neat, or at least a little bit peculiar. Now, in the post bodies that are designed to mimic regular NPM, like package repository communication and traffic, the data that you might have seen attached to the body of a post request is actually the indicator so that server side, they're able to switch off and toggle, okay, what variant are we actually going to install and deploy? Is it the Linux-based payload? Is it the Windows-based payload? Is it the Mac OS one? But they make it a little bit clever because that's not the real npm.js.com. In fact, it's just some other random red herring lookalike data just to look like something. But I was falling down the rabbit hole because I was kind of stoked about, hey, our own security operations center and our analysts that were actually tracking this thing, and it caught it basically even concurrent with this unfolding before the public sounding the alarm and everyone screaming and shouting on Twitter. We're actually seeing the evidence of, hey, us tracking it down, again, 89 seconds after it pops. Wanted to credit the SOC analysts because truly they're the ones doing the real work. I am a mere parrot just regurgitating their incredible efforts. So absolutely shine the spotlight on them, giving them credit, kudos, and credit where credit is due. But it's hysterical to a certain extent. I saw this fly by and I just thought it was so perfect because everyone's having the realization, wow, we've had AI, consume our whole world in that, oh, everyone NPM installs just about everything now. The supply chain is an absolute abyss and we're curl piping to bash all the time now. Whether it's OpenClaw, whether it's WordPress, whether it's whatever. Chad says, look, is NPM cooked? Are we cooked right now? All that is to say, it was cool to see, look, we're already tracking this thing the moment that it breaks. And we already getting the full picture. Okay, we are seeing the actual compromises, at least 100 from what we have visibility over, mainly in the Mac OS ecosystem, and I'm sure plenty in the Linux world as well. But again, this has some wild implications and a bit of a blast radius here that I thought it was kind of worth going live at 1 in the morning, midnight, 2 a.m. to kind of scream and shout about this because I want to make sure you are aware and how you can mitigate. First things first, if you are working with these packages, look, double check your lock files, double check your package.json and the running lock association to make sure you're not using any of the malicious packages or any rendition of that back or any malicious package here. Look for them across your environment. And I did want to give the shout out and love to Step Security, who I think helped really first sound the alarm on this thing. So look for this across all of your hosts, but realistically, also look for those indicators of compromise because that's how you know, okay, one host could still just as easily be hosted. If that hasn't been rotated, recycled, maybe reformatted, if you want to go to that extent, if you're not rotating credentials and everything, assume it is compromised because someone's NPM account got taken over. This wasn't a CVE, this wasn't a vulnerability, this wasn't an exploit, it wasn't some 0-day, it was, hey, we are falling on our own sword as to what the infrastructure of the internet and software is right now. It felt good to play a part of this, though. It felt good to jump in for some of that rapid response, and I hope that I'm still giving you some good, valuable insight. The blog, of course, will be out and about. I did want to get this extra early, rapid response video so that folks can be aware of this when they wake up in the morning. And we have some of the indicators of compromise here just as well if you wanted to be able to extract those out and go do your own due diligence. But please, goodness gracious, supply chain shenanigans hitting the streets again. Everybody in the industry has jumped onto this. Socket Security shared their blog and they're monitoring the situation. Step Security still sharing some incredible stuff on this front. Akito, I'm sorry, I get it wrong every time. You guys know, we're friends though. Joe from over at Elastic has some incredibly good insight just as well. So I'll include links in the video description for all of these things that I've been researching and referencing here for you. And I hope you can get yourself a little more oriented in how this Axios NPM supply chain is going to unfold. The latest from Jason about 10 minutes ago, as I'm recording actively, trying to help spread the word. This is the individual that had their NPM account taken over, that let the bad actor and hacker push to NPM and do the supply chain for the Axios library. It seems to me that someone used one of my recovery codes. How is this even possible is beyond me. Look, please let me know. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Am I going a little bit crazy thinking, whoa, this is whatever, I don't know, blue screen of death on every computer? Is this another Log4j falling from the sky? I do think, though, this could very well explode and we will see post-exploitation and maintained access just coming out of the woodwork for the next day or two or week or however many day or 2 weeks. I don't know. If anything, I think this is just, wow, a story to tell. Axios compromised. Then that's what I know as the go-to tool to do this in JavaScript, to communicate with websites. So this is wake-up call, slap in the face, whatever buzzword we want. And I think we're going to see a heck of a lot more supply chain compromises just like this with the old robots running around.